Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Behind the Cape. I'm data superhero Keith Belanger, and I'm extremely excited today. I'm joined by fellow data superheroes Anand and Karthik. Thanks for joining me here today, guys. It's an exciting topic. Um, Anand, why don't you give everybody a little background and about who you are?
Yeah. Hey, hi everyone. So I am Anand. So I'm working as a senior data engineer at Tiger Analytics, having around 8+ years of experience into data analytics and cloud. And I'm also the founder of my Analytics with Anand YouTube channel with 27,000 subscribers, where I spread the knowledge on data analytics and the emerging trends which is happening in the data world. Thanks, Kate, for inviting.
Well, thanks
Looking
for
forward
having you.
to it.
Great, thanks, Anand. And Karthik, how about a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Keith, for having me here. Hello, everyone. I'm Karthik Raman. I'm based in Chennai, in India, and I have over 2 decades of experience in the data analytics space. And I also lead the Chennai user group chapter, and I'm also a technical blogger. And I um, Thanks for having me here, Keith.
No, it's great to have you both. And today's topic, Cortex AI. So for everybody who's joining us today is going to be a bit of a fireside chat between the three of us, which is going to lead into two additional parts. In our second part, in third part, I'll have individual sessions with both Anand and Karthik, and we'll get far deeper into the aspects of Cortex AI. But today we want to just kind of have a general conversation to get different perspectives on it. And really where I would like to start and Anand, I'll kind of start with you. Is for those who don't know, what is Cortex AI?
Okay, thanks, Keith. So I'll bring it in a very natural way. So Cortex AI is the AI capability of Snowflakes, which leverages your entire data analytics and the data science to the next level. Now let's go back to the traditional data visualization or data techniques which we see way back down the line. Where suppose you want to analyze how my sales is doing, how was the sales figure this year compared to previous year. So you go deep down, you analyze the data, and you come back after a certain period of time. Cortex AI does within a second. It immediately gives you the analysis and in-depth analysis of all this using the inbuilt features of Snowflake, where your data rely within the Snowflake boundary. It doesn't leave it, and accordingly, it increases the accuracy and effectiveness of your data decision, which it will be working for the company. So yeah, so in the very simple language, it's the AI capabilities of Snowflake features which we can leverage it to take the business to the next level.
Yeah, something complex. It's hard to sometimes make it really simple. Um, so Karthik, from your perspective, what kind of problems do you see organizations trying to solve with, like, say, Cortex AI?
When I look at it, right, like organizations typically have problem with the data movement. So basically, like how Cortex solves with this, like for example, like Cortex brings together all the AML capabilities like within Snowflake. Well, and like there is no a need or requirement to move the data out to Snowflake. So basically, customers can do AML use cases on top of the data within the Snowflake, and then like they can also bring in like different like model integration, and then um Snowflake also brings in the enterprise grade like security and governance, which is one of the top priorities for all the customers. And like basically like it helps the but it gives the freedom to like seamlessly like build AML native applications within Snowflake. What sets Cortex AI apart is like pretty much basically within a few clicks and then like within a few minutes like they can like seamlessly integrate the data, and then like they can deploy new use cases and apps on within Snowflake.
Great. So Cortex AI seems like a really complex technical capability, but in order to make it powerful for the business organization, and many folks in the business are not extremely technical. So Anand, you know, like, how can the business leverage Cortex AI? Like, what is the byproduct of Cortex AI?
So the beauty of Cortex AI, you need to understand the business problem which you are targeting it. If your business problem is often you encounter issues in your data sets, you're not able to find the root cause was why my sales have declined in the last year. What is the reason behind downfall, or why certain product is not progressing much as compared to another? So all these answers can be easily integrated with the help of Cortex AI. The best part of Cortex AI is it the model itself does not train on your data. The entire architecture has been designed in such a way so that your data relies in the Snowflake boundary and there's no integration with any third party app. So your data is highly, highly secure. Now, suppose any data analyst or any CFO or CTO of a company, so based on his or her role, he or she will see the same data, whatever role has been given to him. So all those infrastructure setup and everything is being taken care by Snowflake Cortex AI features. So this is what AI capabilities we can easily integrate it. Coming back to the technical part, yes, there are few challenges which needs setting up, fine tuning the model, which Snowflake is currently working on. We can fine tune the model, but so far Cortex AI doesn't trained on any customer data. It works on the metadata features, and accordingly we can leverage the features of this. Yeah.
Right. So, Karthik, what might be some examples of use cases that say creating an agent might provide, that you might have seen out there?
Some of the typical examples could be, say, for example, like in a field of sales and marketing, maybe we can create an agent like that analyzes the customer data to recommend like maybe personalized campaigns for the customers. That could be one thing. Maybe in the banking and financial sector, like maybe we can look at like a enterprise fraud management use case. Maybe like we can build a AI agent that looks at all the transaction records that are available, and like it can highlight like if there are like any kind of unusual like expense patterns. Another thing I can think of is like maybe in the supply chain domain, right? Like if you see like maybe we can the agents can like help to predict like maybe like if there are like any trends like that they can see in the demands, and then like maybe they can like proactively suggest like it could be there could be like the optimal stock level that needs to be maintained, or like to avoid like overstocking or understocking. So these are like some of the common like use cases like that we come across. Uh,
So really, moving away from the traditional, I'm going to call them like stick counts and graphs and dashboard reports, you start getting more into an interactive style of analytics that you can, that organizations can use. So we talked here about the term agent has come up a lot. Um, so Anand, what does it mean to build an agent inside? Like, what is an agent?
So in when I talk about agent in a simple language, it is nothing but an application which you are designing it. Now, Snowflake Cortex AI has two parts. One's the Cortex search and one's the Cortex analyst. Now, based on your business knowledge, like how much is my sales this year or last year, traditional business question, Cortex analyst can answer it. So traditional conversational AI, it converts into equivalent SQL script, which and it will give you the results directly. So this is the one part which works on highly structured data, right? Like CSV format, table format data. Then comes your Cortex search part, which analyzes your response, unstructured data. Say, for example, uh, which we were talking about the conversational AI, where people are reporting certain incident, why the number of tickets are increasing on a daily basis, why the customers are raising a concern. So that complete sentiment analysis, it will analyze it and it will recommend you how I can reduce the number of incidents so my business can flourish. So there are the two parts. So agent is nothing but an amalgamation of these two, Cortex analyst and the Cortex search. Yeah.
Great. Thanks. Great explanation. So, Karthik, so many of our listeners may be familiar with um, kind of third-party industry LLMs, right? That are out there that many of us probably interact with on a daily basis, right? For doing other aspects of our job. How does Cortex AI differ from, say, those external third-party LLMs that are out there?
Cortex AI, it currently supports like pretty much like all the major LLMs like natively within Snowflake. So basically if it is like a OpenAI or like Meta or something, there is no need for us to take the data to and like go to the different like LLMs and then like write out like one by one. So we can even till the latest DeepSeek model, right? Everything is like supported natively within Snowflake, and then like we can all do trial and error, like play around like with all the different models like within Snowflake, and then like we can pick and choose like what is the right and optimal cost effective model for the use case that we are currently dealing with. That is
Yeah.
moving from.
So really, you avoid having to build those external APIs to interact between your data and, say, third party, because Snowflake has kind of done that work for us, right? So,
Yeah, we made it absolutely super easy for users to do everything like within Snowflake.
yep. So Anand, many folks out there probably have structured and unstructured data that they leverage. Um, can Cortex AI take advantage of both structured and unstructured
Yes.
data?
Yes, as I said, so Cortex AI is built on two major framework. One is the Cortex Analyst, which works completely on the structured data like your CSV files, and other you have a Cortex Search, which stay much or completely on unstructured data like your PDF or the response from certain campaign which you are running with. So it analyzes those campaigns and accordingly it will give you the roadmap, and it will also forecast how to reduce those ticket numbers for the benefit of your sales figure which you are targeting. So yeah, it handles both structured and unstructured data effectively. Yes.
Great, great. Um,
Can I give an example for that question?
yep, yeah,
So that could be a scenario, right? For example, if you are an e-commerce retailer, they want to do some kind of research on okay, what is the most frequently selling or the fast selling product, and that would be predominantly involving looking at some of the tables which stores what is the most frequently selling product, and the other thing is analyzing the product reviews for those particular products. That will involve taking a look at the unstructured data that is stored within Snowflake. So for example, in this particular use case, right, Cortex AI takes looks at both the structured and unstructured data within Snowflake.
gotcha. I'm going to add a little of my 2 cents in here. So one thing over my career, I've been a huge proponent and I've really worked with organizations on is making sure the the structure of your data, the quality of your data really represents your business and, you know, is good because I have seen, and I think we all have seen source data that is either it could be coming from a party table, but you're really talking about, say, patients. Well,
Mhm.
your LLM needs to understand that that's patient data, not party data, right? Um, what's the quality of that data? Do you have to do some level of cleansing? I find that with Cortex AI or just AI in general, that the importance of really cleansing and structuring your raw data before just handing it to AI is going to benefit you because you give it bad data, you're going to get bad results, right?
It
And
will.
and you spend a lot of money,
Ex-
analyzing bad data. So that's kind of like my 2 cents in here in terms of the organizing of your data is I think one of you mentioned it early on is a, a a core component of this is you have to be able to interact with your business and understand your business and their needs. You can't just assume, you know, what they need or the model in what you're giving them for agents is not going to be of any value. Um,
right.
so let's get into like governance, trust, security for many organizations, especially if you're in healthcare or financial services or insurance. Um, the importance of keeping that data secure. How do things in Snowflake, like, you know, if you're doing any kind of like policies or anything like that, does that play into Anan, I'll start with you. Does that play into the usage of that data? Like if I don't have access to certain data, you know, but I'm trying to use an agent to analyze that data, what happens? Like, does that all still come into play in Snowflake?
Yes, yes, that's the beauty of Cortex AI. So whatever role, so it works on the principle of RBAC, role-based access control. So whatever in the UI of Snowflake, whatever role has been granted to you, same applies for all the agents. Whichever data has been, you are seeing a certain data mask. So even the agent will show you that the mask data. So that automatically Snowflake inherits that capability of the Snowflake role-based access control and row-level security policy. So that is already attached in the framework of Cortex AI. So that's the beauty which Cortex AI makes very very handy while working on all these LLM applications. Yeah.
And that's great because the the Cortex AI in the background may need to see that sensitive data to do its analysis, but it doesn't mean when it gives you the results or tells you we have fraud or there's this, it's that that individual needs to see that detail, or they might go to somebody else and say, "Hey, we found something. You're going to need to do it because you have access to to that
Right.
level of information." Yeah,
Right.
great. Um, So this kind of kind of answered both questions. I don't know if Karthik, there was anything you wanted to add on top from a governance or security perspective from your side as well, or if you kind of have this, you're good there.
Like along with like role-based access control, like we have like options like data masking, like encryption, like access policy, all these things like together, like it will bring in the required like security and governance.
Yeah.
And like what the thing is like again like Mm, like, we always go by the policy of like giving the granting the least privilege as much as possible, right? Like that is something like that is like closely followed by a lot of enterprises, and that should take care of like the security and like governance part.
Mhm.
Yeah. Start with no access first rather than full access first. um, so let's kind of transition into your organizational leaderships, and you're like, wow, this sounds interesting, and I want to get started in Cortex AI. So I'm on from like a leadership perspective. What would be some of like the first conversations, initiatives, you would prioritize maybe into or considering for Cortex AI?
So the first understanding is understand your business problem. What exactly is the business problem currently you are facing, or what are the challenges which you see down the line? Say, for example, an e-commerce website where maximum number of tickets are getting generated, customer are raising complaint. So we need to understand that part, right? Directly, it's not like that I need to incorporate Cortex AI directly and in one go I will do that. No, that's not how it works at industry level. There are a lot of repercussions, a lot of analysis you need to do it. You need to understand the data, whether Cortex AI is required or not. What kind of data are you processing? Are you processing more of structured data or unstructured data? All these things has to be taken down the line in order to work on this. I think Karthik can add more point. He comes from decade experience, so I think he will be able to add more points on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead, Karthik. Yeah, give us your perspective too.
In terms of like, okay, two things, right? Like, first one would be the business alignment. So how does Cortex AI like fit into these strategic goals, whether it is like efficiency or like cost savings or like customer experiences? Business alignment is something like needs to be looked at first. The second is okay, the data trust, security, privacy, and like regulatory requirements part. That would be the second aspect like that we need to look at. The third one would be maybe in terms of change management. How will the AI adoption like is going to impact the teams, the current like workflows, and then that decision making as a whole. That is something like I would look at. And finally, very importantly, how do you measure the success of the adoption? Basically,
Exactly.
what would be the KPI, whether it's
KPIs.
like a response accuracy or like would it be operational efficiency? How do you define okay successful AI deployment? These are the things like I would look at from
Yeah,
most.
great advice. I've always been I've been in the industry for almost 30 years. Um, I've seen technology come a long ways in 30 years from what we can do now to what I would have never expected 30 years ago, what we're able to do now. That was something I saw in the
Right.
movies, right? But there's still kind of one golden rule that I've gone by and has never kind of wavered, and that is crawl, walk, run, right? It's really start slow, dip your toe into it. You're not going to solve
Right.
your largest business problem on day one. You guys brought up great points and experiment with that. One thing I've discovered about Cortex AI and AI in general is you know, you have to learn it and it has to learn you. And you need to kind of take baby steps into that. So, um, well, you know, I think we're out of time. This has been a fantastic conversation. I really enjoyed you know, kind of that high level overview of what we about Cortex AI. So for everybody else, like I said at the beginning, we're going to get into a part 2 and a part 3 of this series where I will have a one-on-one with Anand and Karthik. We will go into far greater technical depth about Cortex AI, show you guys some actually the capabilities and really roll up our sleeves. So once again, I want to thank Anand and Karthik for joining me and all of us today on this episode for their insight on Cortex AI. And I think we all look forward to the next episodes where these guys really get to show you some of their data superhero powers. Right. So thanks, guys.
Great.
Thanks for having. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thanks all. Bye.